Hi, my name is Lorcán Black. I'm an Irish poet, and I'm delighted to be reading some poems from my second collection, Strange Husbandry, for the Kolkata International Poetry Festival. So thank you very much. So the first poem I'm going to read is the opening poem of the collection, and it's called Aphrodite. Aphrodite. The first train heaves and leaves, rumbles and eats its track. You turn to me, sleep-eyed, docile. I know I have 15 minutes of this. I watch your face, feel your beard grow. I watch you wake, and very silently, very carefully, one considers the other. Squirrel call, bird call, hands and chest hair. We grow branches, entangle, stiffen. The whole morning mournings out upon itself. A wave far off washes ashore. Over my belly a moon moves, and a whole world unseeing senses oceans. Surf catches itself in the wash of its own white brilliance. Was it an oyster shell she birthed from? Because he gifts me necklaces, all clear and salt like the sea, of such bright, startling pearls, and these dropped pearls, my tongue outstretching, clutches. The next poem that I'm going to read is called Witches' Means, and it's after the execution of Giles Corey, who's an English colonialist who's accused of witchcraft in Salem, Massachusetts in 1692. And unfortunately, Mr. Corey was executed by being pressed to death by boulders, but also, as you'll hear, the poem also sort of acts as a metaphor for a controlling relationship. Witches' Means. Say I was a swallowtail, Apatura iris or Inicus isle, or any live specimen, because really, what does it matter? And you, a scientist with your pins, instead of inquisitor with your boulders, cold metal points struck through like pikes to the board beneath, as you stroke and stroke my pinned wings, bands glittering in black, in gold, in my fine dusted ochre. Pain is no object, and once pinned, you whisper to me of my own frail beauty, how despite the pain and the pinning, you love me really, and how the Lord will set me free, even now, even like this, pain-blind, froth-mouthed, seizing, there is no stopping this. How you love me more, pinned down, how you love me still. Inside, lamps are lit white bright. At the windows, moths gather. Wings shush glass, unknowing. Their small night shadows brush these beautiful brutalities. Mullioned eyes, seeing only lightness, wonder, white glittered flame, flinging themselves sick and ecstatic as saints. There is no getting up from this. So let us pretend I am wingless and sightless. So, if I am wingless and sightless, it means I become nothing more and nothing less, which means I become nothing and everything. Witches means I become all the night's dark spaces and set myself to fly out in a hush of wing-brushed night and take my leave of that small voice, wingless and sightless, gasping out, more weight, more weight. So the next poem that I'm going to read is actually inspired by a friend of mine who grew up for a time he's from Ukraine and grew up for a time in Ukraine before moving to Ireland, and obviously just kind of being Irish, we're huge supporters of Ukrainian independence and sovereignty, and so obviously just kind of watching a friend kind of struggle through watching an invasion like that happen to your country. And obviously it's of huge interest to all Europeans. And this poem is called Bucha. You have to remember at some point someone was taking butter out of a butter dish when the windows blew in. And perhaps it was fine china. Then, suddenly, it was bricks. Smoke, fire, human bone, And then a child or dog screaming. It became rubble. It became 23-year-olds wielding Kalashnikovs. It became necessary. You Google, how do you make the perfect Molotov cocktail? Shaken, lit, but not stirred. It became a tank rolling over a civilian's car, and children pulled close to burning from a missile-hot building and running, scattering along a street under gunfire to what? Mass graves dug by Russian soldiers? It became bunkers and lone dogs barking, and all of us watching screen by screen. There are bodies splayed on streets where they ran, though no one comes to claim them. Smoke bombing itself into sky, resembling a tree line where once upon a time trees used to be. And now there is no real end to this poem. And so the next poem, Sweetbread, it's actually based on an article which was featured in The Guardian, I believe, that of this Ukrainian couple who, I think it was on the first few days of the invasion of Ukraine, came across this very lost, very young looking Russian soldier who clearly had no idea what he was doing there. And just kind of shows that even in a war zone, empathy exists. Sweetbread. The man holding the phone and filming says they're sending these kids to war like pieces of meat, while the young Russian cries and tries to stay upright. He's sipping tea in sunlight, his hands shaking. No one really knows why he's there to begin with, and he's 20 if he's a day. Hungry for days, downing tea from Ukrainians as if it's God's own juice, a pie in his hand he doesn't remember how to eat. How much has he been spat at, after being told it was a routine exercise and not a fucking war, packed off, gun in hand, to starve and thirst and beg for mercy before the faces of those you're invading? A Ukrainian girl has called his mother in the fucking car park of all places. This Russian woman she has never met. The girl tells his mother, Natasha, everything's all right. He's safe. Someone will contact you. A Ukrainian man in the background says they don't even know where they're going. They're going by old maps. The girl reassures his mother in Russia. She tells her, God bless, Natasha, here, please speak to him. Speak to your son. The boy is trying not to cry before the face of his mother, his suddenly young face, overcome by confusion and their mercy. Buried in his collar, people his colleagues have shot or bombed. This is the place where shame lies, discovering that the lie is a lie. You bury your chin in your collar. You go as deep into yourself as you can. You hedgehog, close up. You sip tea and thank your captors. His captor tells this boy's mother, he's healthy, he's okay, we're feeding him. He nods in a car park, forgetting how to eat. She strokes the back of his head. She's teaching him to relax in a way she hasn't since the war started. Far-offs bomb disperse over a line of low-hanging sun. Artillery, tanks, and she's telling Natasha he has eaten. Whole cities shouting in the faces of invaders, the future unraveling forward, blast by blast. And the next poem that I'm going to read is called, it's actually based on a painting from about 1638 by David Tenier the Elder, which depicts the Roman myth of the god Jupiter attempting to lie to the goddess Juno, his wife, about an affair he's absolutely not having with the water nymph Io, rather unsuccessfully as the myth goes. But it's a beautiful painting, and it just, once I started thinking about the story, I thought, that could be an interesting poem. So here we go. It's a little long, but I'll try to be quick. Io, transformed into a cow, is handed to Juno by Jupiter. 1. Jupiter attempts to lie to Juno. But what will you do with it? It is true, the beast is a terrible beauty. The blonde hair of its fine, high flanks, the sensuous muscularity, that begs the hand to smooth it, the mouth to water, lips to moisten or to part. I confess, love, I was undone. I crave the creature for myself. 2. Juno curses Io. I could kill it. He would not dare to stop me or expose his lie if I ripped the knife from ear to ear. Look at it, so pathetic, stood there like that, doe-eyed and twitching, before me, the mouth accosting itself, caught in the act. I think it blushes. I bet at night it touches itself at the thought of him, his thighs, his hands, the hair that curls a spiral at his navel. I cannot allow it. At my word, a gadfly flies, its mouth malicious, starved and delirious over the waters of Egypt, delicious in its bloodlust. This is my gift, a life and endless threat. Make a home here, Io, under foreign stars. See the moon cursing over the Nile, the crocodiles and their song, a razor's silver nocturne played to blood, their teeth at night. 3. Juno warns Io. I have given you magnanimity. It will not come again. Retake your skin, but here strip, unloose yourself of notions, of all ties that bind his pull upon you. For I am the pestle and the mortar, and when you are dust, there will still be only me, and old Invidia, her ancient shadow passing lightly upon a wall. 4. Juno contemplates forgiveness. Is it within me to forgive him this? Search the stars, their white-hot bastardies, that I could find benevolence to bend again before him, unfurl my deepest velvet darks, and gift to him a token, totem, sign of trust. Like Helios at the final moment, gifting Heracles a guilty freedom, the golden bowl. And I think, so the next poem I'm going to read actually is Strange Husbandry, the title poem. Strange Husbandry. Your phone is a mystery, an abyss on whose surface one name in particular swims up from the depths every darkness, like some gaping, terrible fish, drifting into your inbox night after night, glittering your darks like a masochist, mouth glistening for the upturned curve of a sharpened tip, the hook, the hook, the hook. How intimate was he? Was it biblical? A serial thing, or a name-only, spit-in-the-face pumpfuck affair? The sweet lip rip and come in me, bro, the bants, the bants, the bants. The still, fresh memory of his groan and glisten in the hot August night last summer. I can't understand it. I've killed all my lovers, tasted the dripping iniquity of my exes, old bones I have licked and discarded. Why do you keep him? It is such strange husbandry. Poor animal, leashed and breathless, begging for lashing, for the smack on skin, the sex scent of leather. His last, best ass tickler. In the deep breath of evening, I hear him buzzing. Blue bottle fly, fetid and pestering over your Insta. Sticky feelers inking his own dark void in a frenzy, dying for sweetness, for a skin-on-skin lick of you. Hard eyes on your stories, on post after post. Let us be honest, it is cruel, letting him keep at it like this. I say we bag him. Blind kitten, runt. It is futile. Let there be no idols before me, for I am the love, your dog. I am a mouthful of such sweet God, your holy confirmation of holes. Unlike him, I see only you and you. Sole idol, for whose presence the waves I shear and part. O Exodus, how slow, how steady, you tear apart the last fine strings, the gut-belly wrench to the sweet red-ripped center, to the last wet heart, love. You will enter, enter, enter. Thank you very much.
Hello, it's so nice to be here with you at Kolkata Poetry Festival. Thank you again for inviting me. I will be reading from my new collection, Agimat. Agimat is a Tagalog word which is one of the main dialects in the Philippines where I was born. It means talisman or amulet. In some Filipino cultures, parents pass down to their children an agimat in a hope that its magic will empower and protect them. My collection looks deeply into two kinds of wars. The first war is the COVID 19 pandemic, where nurses like myself and my mother fought on in 2020. The second war was trying to explore the Japanese occupation in the Philippines, in the country where I came from, which was back all the way in the World War II. I will read two poems from you today. The first poem is my attempt to explore what it means to fight during the pandemic, but also what it means to love, especially because this poem is inspired by my own love, a man who is of Japanese heritage. In this poem, I use both English as well as a Japanese word, kototama. I also used baybayin, which is an old Tagalog word that is nowadays isn't used that much. This poem is called During the Pandemic. I tell my lover I can no longer be a nurse, and he writes Kototama on my arm. Kototama, the magic that lives in words, like the feather of a rainbow inside smoky quartz, or a glimmer of saline in a thumb sized intravenous chamber. Perhaps this is the reason we shout, "Open your eyes," like an invocation. Every time we shake an unconscious man on the bed, on the pavement, on the passenger seat. Koto for words, tama for soul. I'm still waiting for the moon's light to come upon me. My lover says, "Don't quit." And I wish he'd believe I want to persevere, preserve what prayer is left. Like that organ still playing in a medieval church in Halberstadt, the music that will live for another 600 years. But everything burns out. The clocks of London, the Statue of Liberty oxidized from copper to green. In the dehydrated plateau of my mother's hand, my kisses bloom like silver puddles. Yesterday, my mother saw her pregnant patient walk to the toilet with brick heavy breaths. On the way back, she collapsed, her yellow shawl falling with her like mist over a forgotten mountain. The scan reveals thrombosis in the lungs, in the head, snake eggs lodge in the arteries. Sumpa, the curse of taking care of others. My lover says, try to find the same magic in the language of your foremothers, the Baybayin. The script colonizers tried to eradicate, etched around the mouth of the Manunggul jar, Baybayin, which means to spell or seashore. The ba is not a shell, but a woman's pelvis. It gives life to babala, babaylan, shamaness, or warning. I have sung all the love songs in the morgue, even before I sprint to my patient trying to hang herself on the curtain rail. It's already September by the time I catch her by the legs. Since then, I've been dreaming of my mother, dreaming of me in the tachycardic pulse of skeletal white resuscitation light. We are running in slow motion, our chest brown and blue fabrics torn open. Have you ever seen a person shot in the head? My mother asked. That's how my patient dropped. No leaning on the wall or breaking the body's collapse with outstretched hands. My mother and I sit in the deep green grass outside A&E, hurling curses at the Sandwell skyline, then laughing at our paper cups of watery hot chocolate. Is it wrong to not want to claim misery when everybody else is competing for it? How the ba breathes life to babae, woman, bangon, get up. The garnet shade of dusk creeps down the scribbles on my arm. Kototama, the magic that lives in words. But I have been blind, standing in the blue flicker of my patient's television, watching his favorite game show. The black lakes of my pupils singe slates of scrambling letters on the screen. Mapriytrsole. Can you see? My patient wheezes under his oxygen mask. The letters, the letters rearrange themselves to aspirometry. Or try a poem, sir. How breathless bears heart and bless. Inhalation, hail and nation. I am trying to leave this country. I am trying to love this country. The news says John Alagos collapsed after a 12-hour shift. My mother texts back, lol. The news says cases rising, danger of nurses quitting. My mother texts back, lol. All this time, my mother thought lol stands for lots of love. My lover writes on my arm, Kototama. I have found my tribe, though I am not brave enough to sit around the campfire and memorize our song. I cannot see that respiratory breeds life to repair and story. Is it wrong that tomorrow, as the ghost of a star dilutes in the light of dawn, this body, tattered and reverberating, will still get up, will still work, will, the word we use to hold ourselves to the valley yawning like a lion, the word my mother and I fan with our palms like a green flame to defy this thunderstorm. My lover warns me. There is magic in words, so be careful with what you say. The full moon outside A&E, rising above the orbs of street lights on this ordinary October night, is surely beautiful. But I just can't feel it anymore. I did mention that in this book, I tried to ask the questions of what kind of talisman do we gain and do we use in order to fight through the world that is full of pain. In this collection, I also try to explore what it means to keep the people you love safe, but also what it means to share to the next generation something that is important to you. I use specifically a mythological creature in the Philippine mythology. Her name is Mebuyan. Mebuyan in the Philippine mythology is a goddess who left the heaven and went to the underworld to nurse the souls of the dead children. In this collection, Mebuyan meets a lot of different characters, especially from the Western folklores or from the Western myth. One of the characters that Mebuyan meets is the Greek god of speed, Hermes. This poem is called Mebuyan Thesis Hermes. Being busy is an attitude, a habit, and a value. We are all in a hurry. Nursing Inquiry. Mebuyan Thesis Hermes. Call that fast, buoy quick, lie in the night clouds of your mama's quilt. We're already elbow greased. Listen, my sister sings, recoils into a tokay gecko. Our ceiling winds with her creaks like an old fashioned alarm clock. Malachite skin slips in and out of the thatching in the alleyways of work and sleep. You ain't fast. You just hex women like that nymph too tired to attend your party into a lethargic drag, turtle shelled, a whole household on her back. Don't you know? My mama's muscle is made up of 1 million springtails. She zigzags across the bay, from bed to bed, the sheets she blindingly made. How can the body generate such energy? Some call it duty, some call it love. My mama moves faster than a yellow balloon, exploding molecules of moonstone your naked eye cannot grasp. I slap the back of a choking man with the speed of a mantis shrimp catapulting a mollusk out of its shell. This is how we work, Hermes. Swifter than a frog's tongue clutch. Here I am sewing up the wound from a year 11's compass cut, whose prom was cancelled, whose father died waiting for his cancer treatment. No time to cry or sit in the funeral of crows. Carry on, carry on. Larga ng larga. We've inherited leaf hopper thighs, our tendon splinters quick, our skeleton dries. Can't you see? What you're looking at is already pickled in the past. This black thread holding the gash closed has already been tied tight. Hermes, we're already miles ahead, way before you reach this line. Thank you again and have a good day.